everybody, and welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Cheri Hudson Passey from Carolina Girl Genealogy. And as you can see, my background's slightly different, slightly different tonight than normal. I am on babysitting duty for some grandkids for the next couple of weeks. So I'm coming to you from a grandson's bedroom in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So that's where I am. So we have got a great discussion for you tonight. On the panel, we have Melissa Barker, aka the Archive Lady. How are you doing tonight, Melissa?
Doing great, doing great. Looking forward to tonight's special guest.
Me too. And of course, we've got Bernice Bennett, our author, speaker, all around everything lady that we love to have here. Hi, Bernice.
Hello.
Now, Bernice is going to introduce our special guest because Bernice on day one of Relative Race was going, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, look who's on the show. So take it away, Bernice.
Well, I am just so happy to see and to welcome Andre Kearns, who is a genealogist. He has been a guest on my Blog Talk radio show, and he was also on Relative Race and had this impressive family tree that made everyone totally jealous. And so I'm just glad that he's here tonight to share his experiences with us as a cousin on Relative Race.
Yes, for the blue team. So exciting. How
Yes.
exciting. Yeah.
Go Team Blue.
Yes. Let's just start real quick and kind of go through what happened, because we've got all sorts of questions to ask you about how exciting it must have been to, get on and preparing for the show and all that kind of stuff. So,
Absolutely.
We're on day 2, and I am amazed at day 2 how much information everybody has gotten already on day 2, and a lot of times it takes like till day 8, and you're going, are they going to find anybody? But day 2, they're already finding people. We need to remember that coming out of day 1. The teams that didn't win, blue team won day 1, had a 5-minute penalty. So we need to remember that that's going to happen on this episode. They had to stop and have that 5-minute penalty. Let's start with green team with Deshay and Chris. So I thought it was interesting. Before they left, she wrote down all the names that her first cousins could give her about that, everybody in that photo. Because she says, one of those people is probably one of my biological parents. So I thought that was very clever of her to sit down there and just make that list instead of, because I can imagine as you're doing this, your brain just kind of isn't quite all there, and maybe you would forget to do something like that. So I'm really glad that she did that. I thought that was great to give her something to work. Go ahead. Somebody's going to say something.
I want to say one thing about green team. I thought was very interesting is that they studied all of the episodes, and by studying the episodes, it gave them an opportunity to look at the various strategies.
Exactly.
So maybe they might be able to incorporate some of those strategies into their own journey.
Yes, and we heard about that notebook on day 1, but on day 2, we got to see
it
and how thick it was, 30 to 40 pages of strategies, what worked, what didn't work. I thought that was great. And so, from now on, this is what we're going to see. All the teams from now on each season, they're going to have their own little booklet, that they put together. But that was a brilliant idea. And I know we've said from time to time, why haven't they practiced with the flip phone? Why haven't they practiced with maps? Why? They know it's coming, So she must have watched GenFriends and taken our advice, right? She must have done that. So that's the story I want to tell myself. So what I thought was really cool about their journey as they found the relative this time, it wasn't one of Deshay's relatives. It was Chris's.
Right.
And how fun for him. I thought that was really good. I thought that was really cool that he was able to, meet up with somebody. And we had explained that to Melissa last week, is that it's not just that person who's looking for biological relatives. Either member of the team can get a connection. So how fun for him to be able to connect and learn about family that he didn't know about. So I thought that was really great, really great.
And
then,
you know, I think
go
the
ahead.
other powerful thing there is you always think about adoptees or who are looking for their family, but you have folks like him who knows who his parents are. He, for the most part, knows his family, yet there are branches of his family that are relatively close cousins that he's never met and he doesn't know. So it's just a reminder that there's family out there, even close family, that many people have never connected with.
Exactly. And I'm hoping people watching that get that message and think, oh, there's probably people that I don't know about either. Because I think people will watch, like you said, and think, well, I know who my family is. So I think that's really great. I think that was really fun. And then, of course, they had that 5-minute penalty, and they were studying the maps. They did not let that 5 minutes go to waste. They were studying those maps. So I thought that was really fun. If we move on to Black Team, because I want to get to you, Andre. We get to JD and Jen on Team Black, and of course, we all know that story from last week where he found out that his father had passed away. Does anybody have any insights on things that went on with Team Black that they would like to talk about? Come on, y'all.
I like the fact that before they left, she gave him that book to put those pictures in, and the obituary of his father. And I don't know. I really like that she did that for him. That was very nice.
Oh yeah.
It also felt to me, and I think he actually said that he felt that he had known this cousin a lot longer than perhaps he had, only because of the connection that they had once they sat next to each other.
And this was on his mom's side. This was on his mom's side. And didn't she say that she used to babysit him?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and of course, he didn't remember. I thought that was really cool. And that she put that book together was wonderful. It was just wonderful.
So nice.
Yeah, it was nice. And he was saying that, even though that emotion of his father, getting that information about his father, it still gives him hope because he has that information that he'll be able to connect with other family. And so I'm hoping that we'll see.
And he's got, it was shared that he has siblings, right?
Yes. Yes. So that's going to be real important as we go on through the race. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm hoping that he can just connect to somebody so close that it'll nothing will make up for the fact that his biological father has passed, but something that will kind of fill a little bit of that hole in his heart. So I'm really hoping that.
Absolutely.
Now they didn't take. They didn't do much. They didn't take advantage of resting for 5 minutes. They just sat in the car. and so afterwards they were saying, why didn't we do something? Why did we just sit in the car?
He should have learned how to use his flip phone.
Right. That was something else I want to talk about with him. Is he was saying that he could have solved all the world problems in the time it was taking him to text on that. And I was laughing because I was live tweeting and I kept making typos in the live tweeting, and so I thought, you know what, I can't do it either, and I've got a smartphone, so I'm all my words are.
But listen, I agree with you. They came in last in the season, in the episode 1, and then they came in third in episode 2. So they need to step up the game.
Yes,
definitely use that time wisely to game plan so they can be more competitive.
Oh, exactly. You're so right.
I get the feeling from that couple that they're more, I think they're like more into the genealogy and the finding out their relatives than they are the game, but they have to be if they want to win.
And if they want to get all the way at least to day 9 so they can meet all the,
yeah.
I mean, they'll still be able to, but it's a different scenario where you get to go to their door and knock on it and, ask whose relative you are and that kind of thing. So if they want to get to day 9 at least, they're going to have to step it up and get some gameplay going. And let's see. So then we haven't even talked about the challenge. We'll do that in a second. So Team Red, Ray and Nicole. Here we go again with the sad. The sad. I mean,
this really unmatched in terms of the last season. In the first 2 episodes of this season, you find out 2 biological parents for 2 different team members have passed away.
Yeah.
It's just really heavy.
It's very, very heavy. You know, in the photo that they showed of his mom, I mean, he looks so much like his mom. It was just amazing because they put the pictures up side by side of him, of Ray and his mom. And yeah, it was, oh, that was heartbreaking. And he had to go take a few minutes, which, you know, I can imagine, you know, walk away from that camera, get away
Yeah.
from all that. And he took the picture of his mom and he just said, I need some time. Well, yeah, yeah, of course he needed
I also
some
get the
time.
sense that he's, I just got the sense that he's kind of blaming himself for being given up in some of the things that
Yes.
he said. And so it just feels like he's really holding on to things that he shouldn't and carrying a lot of weight. And
Oh,
so
yes.
that was difficult to see and to hear. And, you know, it was also inspiring to see him push through it, and
Yeah.
incredibly inspiring to see how his wife was supporting him through
Oh,
it. And
yes.
it's just the beginning stages of it, but it's a
Sure.
lot for him to process.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And like you said, and we talked about this last week, is that he feels like he always has come in second best, you know, second place. And so that's heartbreaking. Now, they had a fun 5 minute resting.
Yeah.
They were out there boogieing on the side of the street.
Dancing, yes.
Yeah.
That was so cute. I loved that. I love when the teams do things like that and really show us their personalities, and it just makes them more endearing. And then, you know, we never can figure out which team we're rooting for. We try not to do that, but that, I loved that. That was so great that they were out there just dancing on the side of the street. And, you know, I'm wondering if there are people watching going, that's what was going on that day that I drove by. I saw
Yeah.
those people in the red shirts dancing by their red car.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something that I like about all of them, and it's the bonding that has taken place with all of them,
Yes.
so that they're calling themselves cousins. And
Yes.
they're
Yes.
supportive, although of course they all have this goal to win. They
Mm-hmm.
still very supportive of each other.
Exactly. And it
And they're
seems to,
wearing each other's bands, right?
right, right. And it just seems to have kicked in so much earlier this season than it has in the past seasons, that they're
Mhm.
just, they've been bonded from the start. So I know
Right.
that I found out that they actually exchanged those bracelets when they first met. So they did that on
Mhm.
purpose to support one another. So that's
Mhm.
just wonderful. I'm just loving that. And that there's not been trash texting. It's all been good. It's all been funny texting when they could get the text out.
Right.
Right.
So all of them seem to be having a little bit of problems getting that text out. So just really funny. Let's go to Team Blue.
I don't know how well
Oh, go
I
ahead.
would do texting with I don't know how well I would do texting with a flip phone, to be honest.
Me either. I can't
Me
do it.
either.
I'm like this, you know, on
That
my
was a long time ago.
right, and I've got a big note. You know, I've got the Note 8. It's a pretty big phone, and I'm still like, it takes me forever to text. So that's because I'm old, and I'm not, you know, and so that's the problem. But so let's talk about Team Blue. You know what we need to talk about really fast though? We didn't talk about the challenge. Let's talk about the challenge. That challenge.
Mhm.
But my
Medieval mayhem.
yeah, that and it was, wasn't it? That's
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tough. That was
yeah.
tough.
That was a tough one. Team Blue had a hard time. I think they should have. Some people on Twitter were saying we need to call foul. Theirs is not even working correctly because the balls are going the opposite direction. But what they had to do for somebody who hasn't watched it or just wanted a reminder, they had a little castle kind of set up, and they had the, what do you call it, the launcher. What am I?
Well,
What
one
word am I
called it
thinking of?
one called it a trebuchet, and the other one
Yes.
called it a catapult.
A
And
catapult.
so
There you go.
they called it a catapult, and then I can never think of his name. He's in Team Green. He's like, "Oh, this is not a catapult. This is a
That was
trebuchet."
Chris. Yes.
So I'm
And I
like,
was
"Okay, what's the difference?"
what is the difference, right? So they had to take these balls and they had to, you know, try to catapult them and hit down the three towers.
Mm.
So, you know, you would thought that would be a little bit easier, but it really wasn't. It was a struggle. Some of them were getting them down, but like I said, blue team, poor blue team, they just
Mm.
wasn't working for them very well, was it? Frustration. It's got to be so frustrating when you've got a challenge and it's just not coming together for you. So one that
And
we probably
the fact that they had a lead in terms of everybody had to wait for 5 minutes.
Right, and they did.
And you figured it took them a really long time because the way that they produce it on the show, they just show the sequence.
Sure.
But you don't know how much time in between, right?
Exactly. Exactly. So I was feeling bad for them, thinking that same thing. Their advantage is being eat up by not being able to get these in. So we had some interesting ways of finding their relatives' homes. We had Chris get out of his car, parked at a light, going and asking people, which I thought was awfully brave.
That was really bold.
That was really bold. It was. We had, was it Red Team that went to the post office?
That was a great idea, by the way. And, and they took that away. They thought to themselves, okay, post office. We're not going to go to the post office wherever we go.
Yes.
And someone else asked what actually went to the postman, woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Took them right to where they needed to go.
Yeah.
And what are the odds they would come across a postal woman who said that was on my route?
Yeah.
Right.
What are the odds?
I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So they, for a while they were telling them, you can't go here, you can't go there, because people were just like they weren't even looking. They were going directly to like the fire station or directly to, and they were saying, okay, for the rest of the season, you can't go there because it's kind of, you're not really trying to find it with your maps and stuff. You're just going to ask. But let's talk about Blue Team. So
go Team Blue.
Go Team Blue. So Team Blue is starting out from Andre's house, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting out from your house. How cool is that for when they connect you? Did you get like an email that said, we think you're connected to somebody? How did that all work out?
So I've tested with all the DNA services, and I have my family members tested, like my parents and stuff. And so I check our accounts daily for just new, interesting matches. And I remember one day, this past spring, I noticed a new Ancestry DNA match for my dad with a very unique handle. It was 6 relative race 20A.
Wow.
That will give it away, yeah.
Okay, everybody, start looking.
It would. Right, exactly, definitely. And now, especially with the Ancestry DNA matches, we can search by match name, start looking. But honestly, I didn't know what to make of it because it didn't give it away for me because I wasn't aware of the show at the time. So I didn't know what to really make of it. The match didn't have a tree associated with it, so I didn't think that much of it. And then a couple days later, my cousin Valerie, who's featured on the last night's show, who's also tested with Ancestry DNA, she reached out to me. And she said she'd received a message from a genealogist who was helping 6 relative race 20A to connect with her family. So Valerie and I started working together to figure out where we thought this match might fit in our family tree. I knew we were related through my father because it was my father's match, and that I also noticed that all of our shared matches were my Harvell cousins, the Harvell family. So, and then additionally, the match was a really close match to Valerie. So I figured that meant that they were in the same Harvell family branch. So we kind of worked together to figure all that out, to generally figure out where this match may fit into the tree. And then I Googled the name Relative Race, and that's when I discovered it was actually a TV show. So we followed up with the genealogist who'd reached out to Valerie, shared what we had kind of figured out about this match and where this match might fit into our family. And of course, it turns out that the match was Anitra of Team Blue. And so next thing you know, Relative Race producers are reaching out to me to let me know that she'd been selected as a contestant, inviting me to, be a part of the show. And like I said, I'd never seen the show. So I watched one episode. The producer invited me to watch an episode of season 5 because that was the season we were in. And whenever you're kind of introducing a reality show, you're not quite sure what to make of it. So he's like, listen, this is a great show. It's a feel-good show. You're really going to love it as a genealogist. Check out season 5, watch an episode or 2, and then follow up. Let me know what you think. And so I watched one episode, and I was, I have to tell you, I was instantly hooked.
Yeah.
It's an amazing show. And so really at that point, I both agreed to be on the show, and then I pretty much binge watched the rest of the season 5.
That's great. That's great. Bernice is letting us know that she has the same match.
Oh,
Yeah.
what? Wow.
My sister and I all have the 6 relative race, whatever, the 22 or something.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. So then you're related to Team Blue as well.
I guess. I think I'll send a message tomorrow.
Yeah, you need to.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Check it out.
Exactly. That is so cool. So then what do they do? Do they come to your home? Do they talk to you about, do they say, what are you, especially, we were wondering about, especially the ones that have to tell them, they passed away. Do they talk to people about what you're going to say on the show? I mean, or they just leave it up to you to, just tell them what you need to tell them?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of the prep happened with the producers over texting, email, phone calls. And, at some point after I'd said, yeah, I'm interested in being on the show, and we'd gone back and forth, they communicated the date where they'd be filming at our house. And and I took the day off. And kind of beforehand, we had kind of designed and agreed on the contours of the day in terms of how I would spend the day with Anitra and her husband, Paul. And so the day of, the film crew arrived to prep and get ready. And then they were able to film me meeting Anitra and Paul for the first time. And then we just had a great day together. I mean, we spent the day together. I took them around Washington, D.C. I was surprised. I mean, we filmed so much about our day in terms of all the things that we saw. Not much of that made it into the show. But yeah, I took them to the National Mall. I took them to the Washington Monument. I took them to the Lincoln Memorial, to the Martin Luther King Memorial. And we just toured around that way and spent the day together. We had dinner together. They had dinner with my family. And then the next morning, which was the Day 2 challenge, which aired last night, they were off. So it was super fun. I mean, the production team was fun. I enjoyed meeting all of them, working with them. It was super fun to film the episode and then to, see yourself on TV with your family and watch it with your family. And of course, I have 2 sons, a 15-year-old and 12-year-old. So every time I made an appearance, they were looking at me like, Dad, you're such a terrible actor.
This is genealogy. This is my thing. I'm not acting.
Right. I'm not. That's what I said. That's exactly what I said. I'm not acting. I'm a family historian. This is just me.
Exactly. So, now that chart, when you unrolled that chart, I know that there was a gasp from everybody that does any genealogy, family history, whatever you call yourself. Everybody saw that? Holy cow.
Yeah.
I know that the whole country went,
right.
I was amazed. That was some long chart. Now, did you make that chart or did the show make it for you? Was that
so
produced?
A little bit of both. So I have been building that family tree for many, many years. And so when the show connected with me and we were kind of figuring out the day, I said I wanted to be able to present the family tree. And so then I shared a link to my family tree, and I had seen in season 5 where they had presented family trees previously. So I figured it's just going to be like that in that format. And so then the producers called me back and said, we've got a problem. Your tree is so massive, it doesn't fit the format that we've used for any of the previous seasons. So they had to get kind of creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had to get really creative in how they would fit everything onto this scroll. And they said, this is a really long scroll family tree. You're going to really just be amazed when you see it. And so they actually helped to kind of put it in the, print it out graphically in a nice way in that scroll. And so when they arrived, that's when I saw it for the first time. I was like, this is incredible.
Wow.
So I was really happy to be able to gift that to Anitra and Paul.
Oh, I'm so glad you did. And the photo too. I loved that she gave her that photo. That was wonderful. So she's got this visual, of ancestors. You know what I also loved was the fact that you talked about the ancestor who started the school and how she's a teacher. And I just love when those kind of things come together.
Well, I think that it's powerful. I mean, it's amazing the similarities you uncover with relatives that you've never met before. And so, to your point, I started sharing about our family history, about education as a family value. And, coming to find out when I meet Anitra that she's an educator, she's an English teacher, she's an English professor. And the other thing is her husband, Paul, is the coolest. And when I met him, as we were spending the day together, I found out that he's of Haitian descent. And my wife is of Haitian descent as well. So that was another similarity between us. And, and then beyond that, there was just this instant connection and a familiarity with them that I felt when we met, which, you can't describe it any other way than it's family.
Exactly. I have one other question for you. Do you happen to
Sure.
know who makes those charts? Do you know, we've asked about each other, who makes those charts? Do you have any idea? I don't want to do a commercial. Maybe you can tell us later. I don't know.
Right.
But those are fabulous charts. So
that was pretty amazing.
Inquiring minds want to know who on earth prints out those charts. So we'll have to see if Real Race will let us know. Give us permission to.
Yeah, I could try to find out for you.
Yeah, we would love to know that. Yeah. What other questions do y'all have as we go on through what happened on day 2?
I would just be interested from Andre. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bernice.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask Andre, and you may have said it in the episode, but I don't know because I don't remember. But how long have you been doing genealogy research, and what got you started?
So I've been doing genealogy since I started my family tree, creating my family tree and ancestry in 2006. So it's been 13 years. And I created an ancestry account and started to build that family tree for Kearns family reunion that we had that summer. And so that's what started me on the journey. I think farther back, really, I do remember watching the miniseries Roots when I was a young child, and remembering that I just found it inspiring that this person, Alex Haley, could trace his ancestry back to a named African ancestor, Kunta Kinte, a noble Mandinka warrior. And so as a child, I didn't know it, but it planted a seed in me that has now just blossomed into a deep passion for genealogy and family history. And so it's just grown since then. And now I think, I just enjoy history. I enjoy learning about my family, documenting it for future generations. And I want to make sure that the stories of my ancestors are told and that they're part of the historical record, because they're an important part of our history as a country and our history as a people.
Exactly.
And so often you can have African American history that's kind of cut out of the narrative of the American history, and that shouldn't happen. I mean, we're an integral part of this American history that we all share. And so I started a blog, and I just started writing down and sharing family stories to put it and share it in the public record, so that the stories of my family and my ancestors would be heard. And I think that the stories that I uncover of the things that they went through. Some people ask me, well, don't you get angry? But every family faces their own challenges, and you can find inspiration in how your ancestors addressed challenges and adversity. Adversity as horrific as slavery, to persevere and really apply agency over their situation, and find a way to kind of blaze a path forward for future generations. And because of their courage and because of their strength, we are all here. And so I just love that. I have a passion for that.
That's fabulous.
Well, Andre, how did your family feel about this entire relative race experience?
I had it's like you have family members that have different reactions, right? So because part of it was we were trying to figure out family members that might be willing to be part of the show. Of course, I was willing, because this is what it's all about for me. But some family members were excited, interested in being part of the show. Others were like, I don't know what this is all about. Much more conservative in their approach, and kind of trying to understand what this was all about. But so some family members were comfortable being part of the show. Some people were like, I'm not comfortable being part of the show, but I can say that, all of the family seems to be really enjoying watching the show and rooting on Team Blue. And so I was over at Valerie's house last night, and we had a viewing party.
I was going to ask you about that.
Then we had a viewing party, and then she also had people Skyped in, family members Skyped in. So I think that's going to be a regular thing for us, that we'll kind of all watch it together.
Oh, that's so great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, this was Valerie. It was a cousin on Anitra's mother's side. Am I saying that right? Did I get the right line? That's her mom's line? I think that what she said was she was related to Anitra through her father, just like I said I was related to her through my father. Okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes when I'm taking notes, I'm telling you, I'm trying to watch and I hear something wrong.
A lot of details.
I know there's a lot of detail, and you think you've got it right.
Yeah.
And but that would make more sense because you're related on the father's side. So how cool for her. I loved that she was able to meet, like I'm saying, they're meeting these close cousins this time so early on, not like, second cousins or third cousins, or, they're just really, and it's making me think, oh my goodness, there must be something big coming for all of them towards the end, I'm hoping anyway.
Right.
I'm hoping anyway.
And the best part, I get the best of all worlds. So I got to be a part of the show.
Yeah.
But honestly, once they left my house, that's all I knew. So I am enjoying seeing the show progress and watching Team Blue compete.
Yeah.
Just like everyone else. I have no idea what the outcome is going to be, and thoroughly enjoying the suspense and kind of the episodes week to week.
Now you let them stay in your house, right? Unlike Team Red, this past episode, stayed in the camper.
I was a little shocked by that.
Oh, it's happened before. Tents in the backyard. I mean, yeah.
No, but it looked like a very nice RV. So.
It did look like a very nice. So so you're here to report that they stayed in your home.
They did, yeah.
Okay.
They did indeed.
Oh gosh. It's always so fun to get the other, side of the story. But we do need to talk about that Skype call, which is like, every week. We don't want to hear that. But I don't like the results part of it. But I do love the part where they talk to each other and they introduce everybody to who they've met. And last night, everybody was crying and everybody was, even Dan gets crying, and so that bond, there's just something else about this bond, and it really seems special this season. I mean, the teams have bonded before, but there's just something to me that seems really unique about this group, this team, these teams, and how they've bonded so quickly, and they just seem to have each other's back and want everybody to do well. So that in itself.
Oh, absolutely. Like that
Yeah.
when JD was supporting Ray, right? I mean, when
yeah.
Ray kind of experienced the same thing that JD had experienced the week before, right?
Right.
That was really powerful.
It was
That was really
powerful.
powerful.
Yeah. And the I love you to the teams and all that kind of stuff, Well, we'll see if they're still doing that day 9 when it's time to
Yeah.
see who makes it to day 10. But for now, they're really loving and supporting each other. And it's so much fun that they get to introduce to the other teams who they've met. And I think that's really cool because they've only been doing that for the last few seasons, just turning that computer around and saying hi to everybody. And I love that. I think that's really a fun part of the show as well. And then of course, he's got to do what Dan's got to do. He's got to start giving those times. So, right. Okay. Who wants to do the results?
Okay. First place, green team.
Green team. Woohoo. Go green. All right. We root for everybody on this show.
We do.
Team blue went from first to worst.
Yeah. I felt so bad for him, but
we're gonna bounce back.
That's right. And like Dan always says, tomorrow's another day because you really don't know what's going to happen. You can get caught in traffic jams. You can, there's been teams that can't find the road because there's more than one road in a town that's named the same thing, or nobody can help them. Nobody's ever heard of the road before. All sorts of weird things. They get stuck in challenges, and so you just never know what's going to happen the next day. And so I know that's got to be hard to hear. You tell me that, but I got to strike. You tell me that, but I got to strike. But, if they've watched the other episodes, from the other seasons, they've got to know that you can always bounce back. Even if you're down to 2 strikes, if you got 2 strikes, you can bounce back and still make it to day 10. So anything can happen. And like Dan always says, it's about family. In the end, everybody wants to make it to day 10 and earn that $50,000. But in the end, they're all going to find out who they're connected to, because even if they get that 3rd strike, they're going to get all that information and they're going to be able to meet that family. So in the end, it really is all about family. So I love this show. I love the show. As a matter of fact,
the true grand prize, right?
The true grand prize is answering those questions and getting as many answers as possible. Even sometimes if it's answers you don't want to know, at least you've got the answer and at least you can start processing through it. So I was watching it last night here with my grandkids. They were loving it. And when I walked out of the room, they've been binge watching the other episodes, and I didn't even know that. So I, walked out of the room, come back, and they've got it on. I think it was like season 2, and I was like, "What are you guys doing?" "Oh, well, we've been watching it. We've already done 1. Now we're on 2." I'm like, "I love you guys." So, it's
good show, yeah.
It's a good show. It's a good show. It's something the whole family can watch and enjoy and learn from as well, and get your inspiration. As a matter of fact, I wanted to tell all the rest of the panelists too, but I got a message from somebody who watched last week's GenFriends, and she said from watching GenFriends and then watching Relative Race, she was inspired to get back into doing her genealogy. So I mean,
wonderful.
That in and of itself is fabulous. It's fabulous. So it's a feel-good show. It'll inspire you to do your family history, regardless of whether you think you know everybody or not. There are going to be people out there that you don't know, and there's generations above you that you don't know. So it's a fabulous show. I would like to thank all of y'all. Look, it's getting darker here.
I know. I keep thinking you're getting darker and darker.
I'm not used to being in this time zone. Well, next week I'll have to remember to turn on the light because I'm just not used to being in this time zone.
You can have some of the light off the top of my head.
You look fabulous. And Andre, if you would like to continue joining us for this season, we would love to have you. So let us know. It's the same time every Monday night. We would love to have you. So just let us know anytime you'd like to come back on, because that would be fun to hear your views on the team that you met and what they're doing for the next week. I think that would be really cool. So with that, everybody, thank you so much. We appreciate everybody coming on tonight. We appreciate you watching, and remember to subscribe on YouTube so you won't miss any of the episodes. And you can go to the blog, and the blog post will have any links or anything we've talked about tonight, and have a little write-up of what happened on the show. So with that, we will see you next time on GenFriends. I can't even say it. I'm in the dark and I can't even talk on GenFriends. Bye, everybody. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.